Welcome back to You Can Understand Shakespeare, because the fact of the matter is you can. And I don't want to hear any talk to the contrary, all right? Watch that little inner dialogue within yourself. And if it's saying you can't understand it, shut it down, because I'm here to help you, because we're going to overcome it with finding solutions to the 3 Ps. That's right, performance, poetry, and prior knowledge. This is a script supposed to be performed by actors. It is poetry, not something that's really all of our forte. And last of all, Shakespeare just knows more than us. But that is why I am here to help you. I am a former English teacher, professional actor, and lover of Shakespeare. And together, you can understand Shakespeare. We are on Act 1, Scene 2 of Hamlet. Where we just left off is Bernardo, Marcellus, and Horatio have seen a ghost they believe to be the prior king of Denmark, Hamlet Sr. They resolve to go find Hamlet Jr. to tell him about the ghost, because Hamlet Sr.'s ghost would not speak to them. Maybe he'll speak to his son. We are now going to enter in on the king's court, the current king, King Claudius. We're going to learn a little bit about who he is, what the current state of Denmark is, which Horatio told us in the last scene could be a little bad. After all, ghosts are walking, and this is often a sign of the ends of civilizations. At least it happened with Julius Caesar's assassination. So, we're going to dive into it today. Make sure you have a good copy full of annotations. I have the Norton Shakespeare. And let's begin. Flourish. We start with a flourish. And that's because we're entering the king's court. Enter Claudius, king of Denmark. Gertrude, the queen, so they're married. Council members such as Polonius. So Polonius is a member of the king's council. And his son Laertes. Hamlet, there's our main man, and others, including Voltimand and Cornelius. Now, it's always a really good idea to have the character list at the beginning of the play bookmark. Why? Because even though I've read Hamlet before, I see Voltimand and Cornelius, and I go, I don't remember who they are. So, I have mine bookmarked right here, so I'm going to go back to the beginning and see that Voltimand and Cornelius are Danish ambassadors. Right, so that is their job. Makes sense that they're at court. And the king is now, King Claudius, is going to address everyone and says, though yet of Hamlet, our dear brother's death, the memory be green. So Hamlet Sr., who recently died, is Claudius's brother. Okay, so the kingship passed from Hamlet Sr. to Claudius, his brother, which we should find a little odd because Hamlet Sr. had a son, Hamlet Jr., so something is a little off. And he says the memory be green, meaning that the memory is recent. This death has recently happened. If something is green, that's a term that just means young, new, recent. And that can refer to leaves, which when they're young and new are green, and as they get old throughout the year, turn brown or red or orange, yellow, and die. Or you can always think of bananas. If you have a green banana, it's ripe, it's young, it's not ready yet, which is oftentimes how you use green as well. It's only once it yellows and gets some brown spots that we say, this is fully mature, it is ready. So, the memory of his death is green, and that it us befitted to bear our hearts in grief. It befitted us, it fits to bear our hearts in grief, to grieve for him, and our whole kingdom to be contracted in one brow of woe. So the entire kingdom should have their brow contract, come together at their eyebrow, literally, of woe. It's right for all of us, our entire kingdom, to grieve the last king. When he is saying our or we, he could be doing the royal we. Monarchs can sometimes use we to refer to their person, and that's because of something we talked about in Act 1, Scene 1, that the monarch, the king, is the stand-in for the country. If I were to see the current king of England, King Charles, I could say, I saw England the other day. And I wouldn't be referring to the land, I'd be referring to the personification in the person of the head of that country, the king. So, they sometimes use plural to refer to themselves. It's called the royal we. So it is we bear our hearts, as in just me, singular, or our, as in all of us in this country. Because the line between the king and the country, it should be kind of blurred, at least in Shakespeare's political conception. So he said it fits us and our whole kingdom to grieve for him. Yet, so far hath discretion fought with nature, that we with wisest sorrow think on him together with remembrance of ourselves. So discretion has fought with our natural love. Discretion, being wise and prudent, is fighting with our natural love. Our natural love wants to weep for our brother and for our king. So we, with wisest sorrow, and this is the best of both worlds, because you should naturally feel sorrowful for the death of a loved one and the death of a king. But also, let's be wise, let's be prudent, let's be discretionary. And he's going to say why. He says, together with remembrance of ourselves. There's a proverb from the time, he is not wise that is not wise for himself. So, though we were wise for thinking on this, we're also wise to remember ourselves. We shouldn't forget ourselves in our sorrow. So he says what he's going to do about it, how he's going to be wise. He says, therefore, our sometime sister, now our queen, sometimes means former. Some of the time was our sister-in-law. No longer the case. Now time, it is our queen. Essentially, King Claudius has married Queen Gertrude, who, prior to this wedding, was his sister-in-law, who was married to King Hamlet Sr. We should pause. That's weird. Especially throughout this play, there's this idea that this is a little bit of a transgressory action, especially when he's referring to him as his sometimes sister and not sister-in-law. And Hamlet, especially later on the scene, is going to be really stuck on this act of what he calls incest. Though he is not actually Gertrude's sibling, it is all just too close to comfort for a lot of individuals. So he says, we've been wise, therefore our sometime sister, now queen. And this marriage was forbid in England. It's a marriage between a former brother and sister-in-law. This is actually the very grounds that Henry VIII annulled his marriage to his brother's widow and married Anne Boleyn. Famously, King Henry VIII had a lot of wives. So the relationship between Claudius and Gertrude could be regarded as incestuous. Although there are other places in certain Germanic societies where this was actually the normal rite of passage. A new king customarily married the late king's widow. So it is okay. It's not an outright scandal, but also it should be a little scandalous, especially because Shakespeare likes to make every other country and time period kind of resemble Elizabethan England, no matter where he is. So, in being wisely, sorrowfully thinking of himself and the country, says, therefore our sometime sister, now our queen, the imperial jointress to this warlike state. She is the jointress, which is the joint possessor, and is the imperial, being of an empire, of our nation. So, she is the joint possessor of this warlike state. They're at war or preparing for war against Norway. Because we remember that King Hamlet Sr. was fighting Fortinbras Sr. of Norway. And now Fortinbras Jr. Is sort of rallying the troops again and thinking about taking back the land that Hamlet Sr. took from his father. So the imperial jointress is warlike state. Have we as 'twere with a defeated joy, with an auspicious and a dropping eye. So he's going to be talking about this wise sorrow. He has an auspicious eye, which means hopeful and signs of good things to come, but also dropping eye, down in sorrow. With mirth in funeral and with dirge in marriage, in equal scale, weighing delight and dole, that is sorrow, taken to wife. So he's saying that, hey, in this marriage to my now queen, my former sister-in-law, there is a defeated joy. It is joy for the marriage, but it's defeated because I lost a brother. One eye is happy and excited and hopeful, and one is dropped down in sorrow and mourning. There is mirth in the funeral. Mirth is happiness, joy, revelry. There's mirth in the funeral because it brought about this marriage, but there's also dirge, which is a funeral song, in the wedding because I had to lose a brother. So he's acknowledging this is a politically complicated and personally complicated situation. And so in the equal scales where you would balance something, there is delight and dole, which is sorrow. So he's saying that because of this we have taken as queen. Nor have we herein barred, which means excluded or contradicted, your better wisdoms, which have freely gone with this affair along. It's not an affair like an extramarital affair, it just means affair like a case. So we have not excluded the fact that your better wisdoms have freely gone along with this, our marriage, for all of your wisdom, for all of you, our thanks. Now follows that you know, so that which you should know. Now we're on to some more business. Young Fortinbras, that is the heir to Fortinbras Sr. of Norway, young Fortinbras, holding a weak supposal of our worth. So when you suppose something, you're making an assumption. So holding a weak supposal of our worth, meaning our worth as a country, our military strength, whatever, or thinking by our late dear brother's death, our state to be disjoint and out of frame, or by thinking that Hamlet Sr.'s death has weakened our state somehow, it's disjointed it, it's put it out of order, co-leagued with this dream of his advantage. So he has co-leagued this weak supposal, based on whatever reasons he has, with this dream that he has of his advantage, meaning it's reinforced by the illusion of having an advantageous position. He hath not failed to pester us with message, importing the surrender of those lands lost by his father. Important meaning concerning. So he has been pestering us, wanting those lands back, which his father lost to Hamlet Sr. Lost by his father with all bands of law, with all obligations of law, to our most valiant brother. That is lost by his father, by all legal obligations to our most valiant brother, Hamlet. So much for him. That's all he has to say about Fortinbras. Now, for ourself, and for this time of meeting, thus much the business is. Now, here's what we're going to do. This is why I've called this meeting. We have here writ to Norway. So he pulls out a letter, and writ just means wrote. Pulls out a letter to Norway, uncle of young Fortinbras. Okay, so we've learned something. Young Fortinbras is gathering the troops, and he also should be the king. However, it seems like much in Denmark, the uncle of Fortinbras has the title of Norway, meaning he is the ruler. He's making the opinions. So there's something off there as well when these uncles are superseding these princes who should rightfully be king. So we have here writ to Norway, uncle of young Fortinbras, who, impotent and bedrid, scarcely hears of this his nephew's purpose. So his uncle is impotent. He can't have children. He's old. He's bedrid, and it could be that he scarcely hears because he's deaf and old, or that he's just not given a lot of news. So we have writ to suppress his, Fortinbras's, further gait. His gait is like a walk or progress herein, in that the levies, the lists, and full proportions are all made out of his subject, meaning that the money, enlistments, and forces are made up of his, the king of Norway's, subjects. And we here dispatch you, good Cornelius, and you, Voltimand, for bearers of this greeting to old Norway. So that's why those ambassadors are there, because he's going to give him a letter to give to Norway, the current ruler, the uncle of Fortinbras, to stop young Fortinbras's progress. And so he gives him this letter, but then says, giving to you no further personal power to business with the king more than the scope of these delated articles allow. So you only have power to enact what I have commanded here in this document, in these letters, because he could have given them more. Like you have the right to write some treaties or make some decisions on my behalf. I trust you. Nope, just what's in the letter. Great. He says, farewell, and let your haste commend your duty, which means let your swift departure, rather than elaborate speeches and courtesy, let all your swift departure show your loyalty. And Cornelius and Voltimand will say, in that and all things, we will show our duty. We will do what we must, what our job is, in our departure, and all things that we do. Now, the text has them saying it at the same time. That would be an odd thing. Now, they could say at the same time. Perhaps that is a customary response that you would have, and so they would know to respond in unison, but the actors, the director, can figure out how to make it seem real and natural. And the king says, we doubt it nothing, which means not at all. We do not doubt that you'll do your duty. Heartily, farewell. And they exit. Now the king is going to turn his attention more to those around him. They've sort of reached the end of the business of this meeting. So he says, and now, Laertes, what's the news with you? You told us of some suit. He was not talking about clothes. He was talking about a petition or a request. What is it, Laertes? You cannot speak of reason to the Dane and lose your voice. To the Dane would be the Danish king. So you cannot speak of reason. And reason could be actually the faculty of reason, but also of reasons for something, and lose your voice. What wouldst thou beg, Laertes, that shall not be my offer? Not thy asking that. So what could you beg that I would not offer? He's giving forth the opinion that he is a very generous king. Not thy asking the head. Not thy asking. I'm sorry, I got that the punctuation threw me off a little bit. One thing is that the punctuation in Shakespeare can throw us off, and that's because you're supposed to read to the punctuation, not to the lines. So whereas here you cannot speak of reason to the Dane, end of line, and lose your voice, it should all be one sentence. You cannot speak of reason to the Dane and lose your voice. What wouldst thou beg, Laertes, that shall not be my offer, not thy asking? You don't have to ask, I would offer. What would you ask that I would not have already given you, presupposing what you'd want? I'm a generous king, so to speak. The head is not more native to the heart, the hand more instrumental to the mouth. Than is the throne of Denmark to thy father. So the head is not more native, is not naturally connected to the heart, or the hand more instrumental to the mouth than the throne of Denmark to thy father. His father is Polonius, a royal counselor, a member of the court. So they are deeply connected. And there's this idea that there is the body politic, of which the king is the head, the ruler, because the head makes decisions for the rest of the body. As my hands are moving, as my voice is speaking, it's because my head, my brain, my mind has supposed to be so. So there's a lot of connections throughout history. You can find it in Plato's Republic, for example, that the body politic, the body of society, is a macro or large-scale version of an individual person. Therefore, what rules the person, ideally the head, is also then given by metaphoric connection to the king, to the ruler, as the head. So he's making this connection to the body politic, but says that the throne of Denmark is connected to thy father. So I'm not going to refuse you anything because your family's in good graces. So what wouldst thou have, Laertes? And Laertes responds, my dread lord. And dread means revered, right? There's an element of fear to reverence. It's how fear of the Lord in Christianity is actually a virtue. It's not supposed to be terror. It should be awe in the literal sense. If you go see the Grand Canyon, for example, you kind of have this element of awe, of respect, of dread even, not a fear for yourself, but just here is something that is bigger than me. Or you can go out into the ocean and just think about all the fathoms and miles below you of openness, and you can kind of feel a little scared at the magnitude of it. So it's a term of respect, but also there is maybe a little bit of play that he is a dread lord. Maybe dread has a negative connotation, and that's gonna be a little bit of foreshadowing that maybe Laertes doesn't intend, because Claudius, as we will find out, is a murderer and the villain of this play. This is my dread lord. This is what he would have. Your leave and favor to return to France, which is permission and approval to return to France, from whence, though willingly, I came to Denmark to show my duty in your coronation. So he came here to see the coronation, the crowning of Claudius. Yet now I must confess, that duty done, to come here and see the coronation, my thoughts and wishes bend again toward France, and bow my thoughts and wishes, to your gracious leave and pardon, humbly ask your permission to depart. The king says, have you your father's leave? What says Polonius? And that dash there says that he now addresses Polonius. Instead of saying, what say you, Polonius, he just says, what says Polonius? So he wants to make sure he has his father's permission. Polonius says, he hath, my lord, wrung from me my slow leave by laborsome petition. He has petitioned me, asked me over and over again, so that it has been laborious to me. And he's wrung from me. When you wrung something, you squeeze something out. Think of a towel, and you wring it out so you get all the water out of it by twisting it. Wrung from me my slow leave, and at last, upon his will, desire, I sealed my hard consent, my reluctant consent. So he doesn't want his son to leave, perhaps from some familial affection, but he has given him consent to go back to France. And I do beseech you, give him leave to go. And the king says, take thy fair hour, Laertes. And that fair hour means opportunity while you are young. Fairness has to do with beauty. It has to do with youth, because youth is the time of beauty. So take thy fair hour, Laertes. Time be thine, and thy best graces spend it at thy will. Your time is your own. Use it in accordance with your best qualities. Your time is your own. Use it how you will. And now he says, but now, my cousin Hamlet and my son. Notice this, how he addresses Hamlet. He addresses him as his cousin. Now, generally right now, we use the word cousin to mean those who are the children of our parents' siblings. All right? Here, though, however, cousin just means kinsman, which means outside of immediate family. So really, your uncle could be your cousin, or your third cousin could be your cousin, or your nephew could be your cousin. So when he says cousin Hamlet, he's referring to how Hamlet is his nephew, biologically, is his brother's son. But then he also says, and my son. Hamlet is both his cousin and his son, his nephew and his son by adoption, since he has married Hamlet's mother. Hamlet cuts him off. And this is our first line. It's a very famous line from Hamlet. It says, a little less than kin, a little more than kin. Famous line, I screwed up immediately. A little more than kin and less than kind, right? So there's a proverb that was going around this time. The nearer in kin, the less in kindness. And that's playing on this idea of kin is the first three letters in kindness. So the closer you are to your family, perhaps less kindness you have. And perhaps this is the case in some families. Some families are really close, but there's also this idea that you can kind of say things to your family that maybe aren't socially acceptable to say to strangers or to even friends, where there has to be a measure of kindness. It can sort of be this idea of like your family pushes all of your buttons and you push all of your family's buttons. So those who are perfectly cordial and nice and respectable maybe just fight like crazy with their siblings or with their family. So they're the nearer in kin, the closer you are in familial connection, the less in kindness. So the footnote here says that this riddling comment indicates first that there is little warmth in their new relationship that is only nominally, only in name, closer. They are uncle-nephew, not father-son, though their relationship now nominally in name is father-son. It plays on kind in sense of the natural type. So, and kindness can refer to the action of being kind to one another, but kind is also a classification. What kind of thing is that? And now, so he can be talking about the relationship in terms of how they are kin. So a little more than kin. We are a little more than outside of the immediate family. We are now father-son, but that we are less in kindness, which means the kind of our kinship can be now lesser because it is a weird, gross, incestuous relationship. Hamlet is brilliant. He's punning all the time. He has double and triple meanings. There's a lot going on there. Really, Shakespeare really just dunking on us for how smart he is. And the king is going to respond to this, seeing that Hamlet is bitter, is sad, is whatever. And this also requires acting. Because remember, Hamlet's been on stage this entire time, reacting to things, listening to things. He has an affectation, his body language. So the king is going to say, how is it that the clouds still hang on you? Now, clouds, this is poetic language. It's metaphor. He's asking about why are you so sad, so blue, so depressed? And we still use this, right? Even when I say you're feeling blue, that's a metaphor. You can't feel a color, but blue is associated with sorrow. Just as gray, rainy days are associated with sorrow, and bright, sunny days are associated with happiness, with upbeat. So he says, how has it come to pass that the clouds still hang on you? And Hamlet respectfully disagrees. He says, not so much, my lord. The clouds don't hang on me. I am too much in the sun. And with this, so he's saying, no, I'm not in the clouds. I'm in sunshine. But this is also a double meaning. It means that he's in the sunshine of Claudius's favor. I'm too much in your favor. You're showing me too much attention. But also, I'm too much in the sun is a play on the word S-O-N, sonship. So I'm too much in the sun. I'm too much in this role of your son, and that's actually the problem. So he's punning. He's not actually going to be talking about his emotional state. He's going to be using the word son to actually refer to what the real problem is. He's very smart, very brilliant, and not everyone around him can keep up. The queen is now going to address, say, good Hamlet, cast thy nighted color off. And that nighted color, you think, what is the color of night? It's black. He's wearing black, which is a mourning garment. If someone that you know dies, you would wear black for a certain period of time to mourn them. But it also could be referring to his disposition. He is dark. He is moody. So cast thy nighted color off, and let thine eye look like a friend on Denmark. And there, Denmark means the king of the country, Denmark. On your uncle. So look like a friend on him. Look friendly to him. Be happy. Also, look about your country friendly. Do not forever live with veiled eyes, which means downcast eyes. His eyes are downcast, and the eyelids are veiling his eyes because he's looking down, but also he's sad. He's mourning the death of his father. So do not forever with veiled lids seek for thy noble father in the dust. Don't look for him down in the ground because he's buried. Thou know'st 'tis common. All that lives must die, passing through nature to eternity. So you know that this is the way of everything. Everything that lives dies. It passes from nature here on earth to eternity up into heaven. And that's one of her reasons for why he should not be sad, looking for his father in the ground. He's not in the ground. He's not in nature. He's up in eternity. And Hamlet says, "I, madam," meaning yes, it is common. And common could be commonplace, which is, I think, how the queen meant it. Yes, it's common. That happens oftenly. But also common means not of high class. So it means crude, low, base. There's this idea that commonly can play throughout Shakespeare of nobility, which really just refers to class, like how close are you up in the monarchy, and lower class then meaning base or rude or crude or uneducated, these types of things. Now, these are classist associations, but that's also what kind of forms our language. You can also think it this way. Something rare is precious. Something common has less value. That's perhaps a better way of doing it, because that's supply and demand. Then it's not classist, it's just economic. So when he says, "I, madam, it is common," he could be referring to, this is common that this happens, I'm agreeing with you, but also it is common, it is of little value to console me, but it is also of little value that your remark is of little value. Perhaps you're not valuing my father's death enough. See, with one word, Hamlet is all over the place. He's very, very smart. I think it'd be kind of hard for people to talk to him. And actually, we're going to see that throughout the entire play. People kind of struggle to talk to Hamlet. Queen says, if it be common, why seems it so particular with thee? Why does it seem particularly you, Particular means singular. It means personal. So if it's common, if all people die, then why are you so personally upset about this? It says, seems, madam, seems. Nay, it is. It is particular. It is personal. I know not seems. 'Tis not alone my inky cloak. It is not alone my inky cloak is my black color, my mourning. Cold, mother. Cold being she's cold-blooded, but she's also cold. She's not feeling. Because remember, her husband died, and now she's not mourning. So he's accusing her of coldness, of not grieving properly, whereas they're accusing him of grieving too much. You want to be in that golden medium, that golden mean. So 'tis not alone my inky cloak, cold mother, nor customary suits of solemn black, and those are literal suits of black, nor windy suspiration of forced breath. Suspiration is sighing, of forced breath, forcing a breath. No, nor the fruitful river in the eye. The fruitful river, fruitful means lots of things coming from. The river in your eye is your tears. So it's not my black garments, it's not my sighs of grief, it's not my crying, nor the dejected behavior of this visage, behavior, expression of this visage, my face, together with all forms, moods, shapes of grief that can denote me truly. So he says that these things cannot denote me, communicate me truly. Not my black apparel, not my sighs, not my cries, not how my face looks, any form, mood, or shape of grief, any way that grief is manifest. They cannot communicate me truly. These indeed seem, these actions that I've described, they seem, for they are actions that a man might play, meaning act, exhibit in a play. A man can wear black and sigh and cry and make their face look sad. Any man can play these things, and that is seeming. But I have that within which passes show. So deep inside of me, there are feelings that pass beyond just showing my emotions. These, but the trappings and the suits of woe. Essentially, this seems my outward appearance of grief. No, I actually have the real thing. Anyone can seem sad. I have the let's just say the infection, not necessarily even just the symptoms. Because how seems it with you can suggest that he's just acting this way. He says, no, I have the actual principal cause of woe deep within me. And the king has an answer to this. He says, "'Tis sweet and commendable in your nature, Hamlet, to give these mourning duties to your father." In your nature, in your human nature, but also your nature as the son. So it's sweet and it's commendable to grieve your father. But you must know your father lost a father. That father lost his. And the survivor bound in filial obligation for some term to do obsequious sorrow. So, you have lost a father, his father lost a father, so on. Every son has lost a father. And the survivor, which is the son, he is bound, he must perform obsequious sorrow. Obsequious means to mourn as befits obsequies, which are funeral ceremonies. So whoever survives, the son to the father, must perform the funeral ceremonies. That is right. You're bound to do that. But to persevere in obstinate condolement, obstinate is stubborn, condolement is lamenting, is a course of impious stubbornness. Impiety is false holiness. It's rather not false holiness. That makes it seem like it's like hypocritical or insincere. Rather, it is unholiness. It is just the act of not being pious, and pious is reverent and holy for the things that you should be. So you're actually doing it's like sinful to be too sorrowful for someone. You have a obligation to mourn, to do the funeral, all that. But doing it too much, you are committing an unholy act of stubbornness. And stubbornness, you are forcibly keeping yourself in a position that you shouldn't be in, and it's unholy. 'Tis unmanly grief. It's not manly or becoming for you to grieve this much. It shows a will most incorrect to heaven. Your free will. Your will is what you desire. It is the core of who you are in the Christian worldview, are the things, the choices that you will, that you choose. And so it shows that your will is incorrect to heaven. It is not how it should be, which is correct, but it's also not submissive to heaven. A heart unfortified, which means that a heart without fortifications, defenses, or a mind impatient. So a heart is not strengthened against emotion or misfortune, and a mind is unprepared to suffer. And an understanding simple, which is childish. So you have a simple understanding, and unschooled, uneducated. For what we know must be, and is as common as any, the most vulgar thing to sense. So what we know, all things must die. We know that it must be, and it is common. It is, as any the most vulgar thing to sense. It is the most obvious and ordinary thing that we perceive using our senses that all men die. Why should we, in our peevish opposition, take it to heart? Our peevish opposition to the fact of death. Fie, 'tis a fault to heaven. And fie is just sort of like a mild expression. Like, dang it, fie, I mean, like, stop it. 'Tis a fault to heaven, a fault against the dead, a fault to nature. It's a fault, and then it continues to be a fault to reason, most absurd. Reason is intelligence, consciousness. It is absurd, whose common theme is death of fathers, and who still hath cried from the first corpse till he that died today. This must be so. So the first corpse would be Abel, the first person murdered by Cain, his older brother. So it's an offense against heaven, against the dead, against human nature, against the way of nature. It's against reason. It is against all those who have died, from the very first to the person who has died today, to say this, to disagree with the refrain, this must be so, this is the way of the world, that people die. We pray you throw to earth this unprevailing woe, this woe that prevails not, that is unavailing, that doesn't get anything, that doesn't go anywhere, and think of us as of a father. So get rid of your sorrow for your actual father and think of me as a father, your stepfather, so to speak. For let the world take note. You are, and let all the world know this. You are the most immediate to our throne. You're next in line of succession. If I die, you take the throne. You are my heir. And with no less nobility, meaning purity or generosity of love, than that which dearest father bears his son, do I impart toward you. So I also love you like as any father would love a son. For your intent in going back to school in Wittenberg, this is in Germany, it's where Dr. Faust and where Martin Luther both were at. It is where Hamlet was at school, similar to Laertes, who was in France and came back for the coronation. Hamlet was in Wittenberg, came back for the funeral and for the marriage. So he says, you intend to go back to school in Wittenberg. It is most retrograde, which means contrary to our desire. And we beseech you, bend you, so yield, agree, twist your will, to remain here in the cheer and comfort of our eye, our chiefest courtier, cousin, and our son. And the courtier is one who attends the court. So as a member of the court, as our cousin, as my nephew, and as our son. So Hamlet wants to go back to Germany, and the king says, no, I love you too much. I want you to stay here. And it cheers me, and it makes me happy, and I will cheer and comfort you, and you are my son, and all these things. Now, why doesn't he want him to go back to Wittenberg? Perhaps he just likes ruining Hamlet's day. Maybe he's controlling. Maybe he really does like Hamlet. Maybe he really does want him here. Or maybe he wants to keep an eye on him. Keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. Who knows? That's something for your English class to discuss, your book club, or just think about on your own. Because these are all characters that have lots of different desires, motivations, things that they're trying to accomplish. And when Shakespearean characters are speaking directly to us, they don't lie. But when they're speaking to one another, they may lie. And sometimes, in fact, they do. That's a rule of thumb from Chop Bard, which is a fantastic Shakespeare podcast. Check it out. So essentially he's saying, I'm not giving you my leave to go back to Wittenberg to study. The queen says, let not thy mother lose her prayers, Hamlet. I pray thee stay with us. Go not to Wittenberg. So it's a little bit of a pun. Don't let your mother lose her prayers, lose the thing that she is praying for. And here what she's praying for is I pray thee, which just means I am asking you. It's an old expression. Hey, I pray thee do not leave. I'm asking you to not leave. I pray thee stay with us. Go not to Wittenberg. And Hamlet says, I shall in all my best obey you, madam. So he will listen to his mother. Now, notice he says, obey you, madam. He doesn't say to the king. And this is perhaps, again, maybe another slight where it sounds like he's agreeing because he's giving the king what he wants. But he's not saying, I'm obeying you, father, or I'm obeying you, my king, or uncle, or anything. He just talks to his mother. And the king says, why? 'Tis a loving and a fair reply. Right? So it is a loving reply because you're obeying your family. It's a fair reply. It looks good on us. Be as ourself in Denmark. So be as we are here, and that's the royal we, as ourself in Denmark. Be here in the country. Now he talks to the queen. Madam, come. This gentle and unforced accord of Hamlet sits smiling to my heart. All right, so this gentle, it is gently received, this so submissive request, whatever. In some way, what Hamlet has said has been gentle to him, and it's an unforced accord. This accord can be a decision, a declaration. Accord can also be like agreement, and it's unforced. He has done this of his own free will. He was forced. This gentle and unforced accord of Hamlet sits smiling to my heart. It pleases my heart. This accord of Hamlet smiles looking at my heart. In grace whereof, in honor of this, no jocund health, no toast that Denmark the king drinks today, but the great cannon to the clouds shall echo, and the king's rouse loudly echo. So the king's loudly echo, the heaven shall brew it again. Sorry, the king's rouse is a bout of drinking. And the king's bout of drinking, the heaven shall brew it again, shall loudly echo, re-speaking earthly thunder. Come away. We're going to raise some toasts, some cheers. We're a toast, and it's very happy. Also, this is makes me more happy than a whole celebration of revelry and raising toasts can make me. Great. So he's very happy that Hamlet is staying. And everyone leaves. Exeunt means everyone leaves. All but Hamlet. Hamlet stays. And this is his first soliloquy. And he has a number of these. He's all alone, so he's going to be totally honest with himself and with us who are listening. There's no lying here. And we're going to get an insight into Hamlet's mind. And Hamlet has a very rich inner life. He's very intelligent, as we've seen. So heretofore, up to this point, he has had pretty short responses. A lot of them are just maybe even one line. A little more than kin and less than kind. I, madam, it is common. These are all sort of these very sharp barbs that say a lot, even with few words. Now he's going to really let us hear what he's thinking. He says, "Oh, that this too sallied flesh would melt, thaw, and resolve itself into a dew." So this sallied flesh, I have a note here that solid, that some editions of this, Q1 and Q2, quarter 1, quarter 2 read sallied, but while the folio reads solid. So solid fits with the imagery of thawing, but sallied means assailed or sullied. So both of these words do work. So that this too solid flesh would melt, thinking of ice as a solid, it melts and it thaws and it resolves, which means dissolves itself into a dew. Or that this too assailed, this too sullied, which is dirty or sinful flesh, would melt. All those words work. Would melt, thaw, or resolve itself into a dew. And he literally means his body. He wants his body to melt away. He wants it to just turn into dew and dust. So he wishes that this would happen. Oh, that this too would happen. Or that the everlasting, which is God, had not fixed his canon, and that is his law, against self-slaughter. Think about, you know these words. Oh, that the everlasting, oh, that God had not fixed his canon against self-slaughter. He wishes that God had not outlawed suicide. Hamlet is suicidal and depressed. And he's going to give reason why here. This is his insight at the very start of this play. He wants to die. He does not want to be around. His father, whom he loves, and we're going to see how much he really loves his father, is dead. His uncle, who he despises, has married his mother, and he finds this marriage abhorrent. He can't go back to Wittenberg. He is trapped in his house. You could say maybe even under house arrest. He is very, very upset. Oh, God, how weary, stale, flat, and unprofitable seems to me all the uses of this world. Anything that you could use the world for, it's weary, stale, flat, and unprofitable. These uses could also be customs and businesses. Anything that's happening in this world, it is in no way intriguing me. There's nothing profitable for me here. He's depressed. Fie on it. It's curse on it, on the earth. Fie. 'Tis an unweeded garden that grows to seed. An unweeded garden, a garden without weeds that grows to seed. Things rank and gross in nature possess it merely, entirely. So rank and gross things, by their very nature, possess this world, this garden. They possess it entirely. That it should come thus, that events should come thus, should pass in this way. But 2 months dead, nay, not so much, not 2. So now he's referring to his father. That these events should happen that with him only 2 months dead, and he says not so much, not 2. So it means less than 2 months dead. My father is less than 2 months dead. So excellent a king. That was to this Hyperion to a satyr. So Hyperion, sun god. Satyr is a lustful half-goat. They're men from the waist up and goats from down. If you know Chronicles of Narnia, Mr. Tumnus is a satyr. also called fauns, F-A-U-N. And in Greek mythology, they are very lustful. They follow Dionysus, who is the god of wine and revelry. So they're very drunken. They are known for being extraordinarily lustful. So in comparing this excellent king to who he now has, it is Hyperion, a god of the sun, radiant, bright, strong, pure, noble, to a lustful half-beast, Claudius. So loving to my mother that he might not beteem the winds of heaven, visit her face too roughly. So this excellent king was so loving my mother that he would not permit the winds of heaven to eat. Even the wind itself was not allowed to be rough upon her face. He was so loving to her. Now there is a dash. There's going to be lots of dashes throughout this soliloquy. And these dashes in Shakespeare oftentimes mean that one character is referring to another person. Right? We saw it not too long ago when when the king asks Laertes, "Have you your father's leave?" Dash, what says Polonius? Ask Polonius. These dashes means that he's not referencing someone else, but now he's going to a new thought. He's going to have a very disconnected, disjointed thought. Lots of thoughts going really fast. We're seeing how fast he thinks. So he says, "Heaven and earth must I remember." Must he remember his father? It hurts him to remember this. And it hurts him to think about how his father loved his mother. He says, why she, or his mother, would hang on him as if increase of appetite had grown by what it fed on. So she would hang on him, like literally just be physically maybe all over him, or would dote upon him, as if appetite grows the more you eat on it. So the more she had of his father, the more she loved him. It's as if I ate a type of food and the eating it made me all the hungrier for that food. That's what her love was like. That's what her affection was like. So apparently Queen Gertrude greatly loved Hamlet Sr. And yet within a month, and then he tries himself, let me not think on it. Then there's another thought, frailty, thy name is woman. So he is referring to his mother. Frailty, being fragile, being inconstant, all these things. Your name is woman. So he's calling his mother frail, and she's frail of constitution because she loved my father so much. And he says, yet within a month, and these dashes, it's almost too painful for him to think about it. And this is really where actors who need to kind of interpret this, that if you were to watch this, you were to see him going back and forth. So he says, like, oh, she would hang on him as if an increase of appetite had grown by what it fed on. And yet, within a month, and let me not think on it, frailty, thy name is woman, a little month. So he's saying again, not much time passed, just a little month. Or ere these shoes were old, with which she followed my poor father's body. Or before those shoes were old, the shoes that she wore and that followed my poor father's body in a funeral procession. Like Niobe, all tears. Niobe had 14 children killed. She's known for her weeping. She's a figure from Greek mythology. So she was weeping like Niobe. And before the shoes had grown old, which she had worn when she followed my father's body, cuts off again. Oh God, a beast that wants discourse of reason would have mourned longer. A beast, an animal that does not have discourse, conversation of reason, meaning a beast without intelligence. Humans are different than all other animals because we have consciousness, we have reason, we're intelligent. We don't operate solely on instinct like animals, as smart as those animals may be. As smart as a whale or a dolphin is, they aren't writing Hamlet. Only humans can do that. So he says that a beast, less than human, who is not reasonable, who does not have reason or intelligence, would have mourned longer than my mother, despite the fact that she loved him so much, would have mourned longer. Married with my uncle, my father's brother, but no more like my father than I to Hercules. So he married my uncle, my father's brother, but even though he is my father's brother, he is not at all alike to my father. In fact, as Claudius is to my father, again, he's comparing the two, Hyperion to a satyr, Claudius to Hamlet is like me, Hamlet, to Hercules. Hercules was the son of Zeus. And here, there's a lot is done in this particular comparison, in this analogy. Again, his father, sun god, Zeus, king of the gods, most powerful god of lightning and of the sky. Hercules was Zeus's son. He was the strongest of all men. He was a great hero of great renown. You might say he's like the best of men. And he says, like, comparing me to Hercules is like comparing Claudius to Hamlet Sr., my father. So meaning there's a huge gap. What is interesting, however, is again Hercules, son of Zeus. Hamlet is the son of Hamlet Senior. Hamlet Senior, he's already called Hyperion. Hercules, son of Zeus, this type of thing. But also Hamlet and Claudius are the two low ones that have the big gap. So it's interesting that he is the stand-in for Claudius. Maybe tells you a little bit about himself. Maybe low opinion of himself. After all, he does want to die. Whatever it may be, that's interesting. You might want to tug at that a little bit more. Ask yourself what that means. Within a month, ere, meaning before, ere yet the salt of most unrighteous tears had left the flushing in her galled eyes. So within a month, before the salt of most unrighteous tears, tears that lack righteousness, have left the flushing, leaving of her irritated eyes, she married. Oh, most wicked speed to post, which means hurry, with such dexterity to incestuous sheets. So the speed itself is wicked. To hurry with such dexterity means how limber you are. So for example, gymnasts are very dexterous. Right? So she was so quick to hurry to these incestuous sheets, cut it off. It is not, nor it cannot come to good. This is not good. It cannot come to good. Nothing is good about this. And this is apparently why he wants to die. Now, he's really caught up on how bad Claudius is. He really doesn't like Claudius, especially in comparison to his father. But he seems really, really hung up on his mother forgetting his father so quickly and so quickly hurrying to Claudius. Is this a healthy obsession with his mother and his mother's sexuality? Good question. No, it's not. Lots of issues. He's got mommy issues for sure. But it's important to see what he's fixed on right now because, and a little bit of a spoiler, it's been out for 400 years. You had time to read it. Claudius killed his father, but he doesn't know that yet. So he does hate Claudius, but not as much as he soon will. A lot of his attention focused on his mother. He says, but break my heart, for I must hold my tongue. So he can't speak anymore. And so therefore his heart, which finds some relief by speaking, now must break. It must hurt because he has to hold his tongue. Why? Because he's probably seen these three men enter: Horatio, Marcellus, and Bernardo. These are the individuals that we saw in Act 1, Scene 1, who have come to find him. Horatio, hail to your lordship. That's a greeting. Hamlet, I am glad to see you well. Horatio, or I do forget myself. So I am glad to see that you are good. Horatio, I do forget myself. He's just naming him. The same, my lord, and your poor servant ever, and I am your poor servant. These are formalities. It says, sir, my good friend, I'll exchange that name with you. And what make you from Wittenberg, Horatio? Saying, what are you doing away from Wittenberg? What does make you come from Wittenberg? So Wittenberg, if we remember, not too long ago, that's where Hamlet went to school. So Horatio is Hamlet's good friend from Wittenberg, a fellow student, in fact. So they are of studying age, which puts Hamlet somewhere between 18 and maybe 30, depending on how long he's studying for, right? He is not as young as, say, a Romeo. He is a full-grown man, but he's still in his student era, and we can kind of see that by how intellectual he is and how caught up he is in various academia and arts and whatnot. So, and what make you from Wittenberg, Horatio? Before he can answer, he sees Marcellus. And that dash there is not a new thought like it was in the soliloquy. Well, I suppose it is, but it's now addressing a new person. Marcellus! He says, my good lord, I am very glad to see you. So he also knows Marcellus, who's just a member of the sentry of the guard, and he's very happy to see him. And then he turns to Bernardo and says, good even, sir, which means that maybe he's not quite so well acquainted or friendly with Bernardo. And that could be very easily communicated with the actor doing that. Now he refers back to Horatio. But what in faith make you from Wittenberg? What brought you here? And Horatio says, a truant disposition, good my lord. And a truant is a wanderer, a vagabond. Disposition is an attitude. So I have a little bit of a wandering, roguish attitude, disposition, temperament, my lord. He says, I would not hear your enemy say so, nor shall you do my ear that violence to make it truster of your own report. So, this is all a truant. To call someone a truant would be a little bit of an insult. So he says, I would not hear an enemy speak of you this way. I would fight an enemy if they talked about me this way. And he says, nor shall you do my ear that violence. My ear suffers violence to hear your name insulted, even if it's by yourself. You do violence to make my ear a believer of your own report against yourself. I know you are no truant. But what is your affair in Elsinore? Elsinore is the castle they are in. All right, so they're in Denmark, but Elsinore is specifically where they are. Just as I am in the United States, but I could be in Michigan, or I could be in Grand Rapids, or I could be at, I'm not going to say my address, but I could say, but what are you doing here in my house? We'll teach you to drink. We'll teach you for to drink ere you depart. We'll teach you for to means for to, just to. We'll teach you to drink ere you depart. Ere, meaning again, before, not A-I-R, but E-R-E. To teach someone to drink means that you think you know how to drink, you don't know how to drink. We are going to party. They're in college. Now, they could be undergrad, they could be postgrad, they could be doctorate. We don't really know exactly what level, because also this was like 400 years ago. But we're going to teach you to drink. We're going to celebrate because I freaking love you, my guy. They're pals. Horatio and Hamlet are pals. And Horatio says, "My lord, I came to see your father's funeral. That's what brought me from Wittenberg." Hamlet says, "I prithee," which means pray thee, "do not mock me, fellow student." And there even says that that's how they know each other, fellow student. "I think it was to see my mother's wedding." And Horatio says, "Indeed, my lord, it followed hard upon," which means quickly thereafter. And remember, what was Hamlet just upset about? How quickly the marriage came after the funeral. So, if you came to see my father's funeral, I bet you came to see my mother's marriage, and then therefore Claudius's coronation. Thrift, Horatio. The funeral baked meats, the meat pies and pastries baked for the funeral, did coldly furnish forth the marriage tables. The baked meats that were made for the funeral were also the leftovers for that had gone cold because they'd been sitting out, were then what we ate for the marriage. If you're having the same meat for two different events, they have to be super close by. It is thrifty. Thrift. If someone's thrifty, then they are frugal. Then they are being very conscientious about their expenditures. And so one might be thrifty if they were to, say, use the leftovers from one event for another. And for that to happen, they'd have to be very close together. "Would I had met my dearest foe in heaven, or ever I had seen that day," Horatio. Would I had means that would that this had happened. Would I had met my dearest foe in heaven. Would that the person I hated more than anything, whoever that is, would be in heaven with me, which means I would spend eternity with my worst foe before I had seen that day, Horatio. The one day of my father's funeral and my mother's marriage. And he's saying that now they happen on the same exact day. And is he saying that actually would happen? No, it's poetic. He is exaggerating. And he says, my father, methinks I see my father. Now, Horatio, remember why he's here. He's to tell Hamlet that he has seen the ghost of Hamlet Sr. And so he's going to spark up on that and says, "Where, my lord?" Thinking maybe he's seen the ghost. He says, "In my mind's eye, Horatio," in his memory. The eye of his mind is his imagination. Horatio says, "I saw him once. I was a goodly king." And that apostrophe A means he. He was a goodly king. He was a good king. "Ha! I was a man. Take him for all in all. I shall not look upon his like again." His likeness is his appearance. I shall not look upon him again. Because he's dead. "My lord, I think I saw him yesternight." "Saw? Who?" "My lord, the king your father." "The king my father? Season your admiration for a while with an attent ear till I may deliver." So to season means to moderate, and your admiration means amazement. For a while, just a little bit, with an attentive ear till I may deliver upon the witness of these gentlemen this marvel to you. So moderate, which means like, hey, bring down your amazement for just a little while, and you're going to moderate by listening with an attentive ear, so I may deliver this marvelous occurrence of the ghost to you. And it's going to be upon the witness of these gentlemen, which means these men have also witnessed it and can testify to it. Like how in a court, if you want to figure out what happened, you would have witnesses. Hamlet says, "For God's love, let me hear." Okay, so he's going to tell them what we already know. "2 nights together had these gentlemen, Marcellus and Bernardo, on their watch in the dead waste, that is the bleak stillness and middle of the night, been thus encountered." They have encountered something thus. "A figure like your father." So a figure that looks like your father. Now, they're still uncertain. Is this a ghost that looks like your father, or is it your father? So they're going to say it's a figure like your father. "Armed at point," which means he's armed. He's wearing armor. He's armed at point, which means he's in readiness, like he's going to fight. Armed at point exactly. "Cap a pied," which means head to foot. And you can think about that as like the cap is a thing that you'd wear. Pied, towards. And pied, that is actually even like, you'll find that root in other Romantic languages. Cap a foot. Head to foot. So he's armored all over, appears before them, and with solemn march goes slow and stately by them. So walks by them. "Thrice he walked." Thrice is just 3 times. So you have once, twice, thrice. We don't use it as often, but we should. "Thrice he walked by their oppressed and fear surprised eyes within his truncheon's length." They're oppressed and fear surprised eyes. Their eyes were oppressed and fear surprised by fear, within his truncheons, which is officer's batons, length. So if he holds a truncheons, an officer baton, he has a baton, an actual baton, like a stick, He was that close to them. Whilst they distilled, which means dissolved almost to jelly with the act of fear, with what fear is doing to them, stand dumb, which means dumb isn't unintelligent, it means that you can't speak. And so you can see how that word actually has devolved over time. If one is dumb, they can't speak. We have now meant it to be stupid or lacking intelligence. Oh, are you dumb? You cannot speak because you do not know. When it could legitimately just mean, oh, you can't speak. Maybe you've lost a tongue. You'd be dumb. And you can see that throughout the Bible sometimes where it says like, oh, Jesus healed the dumb. It might also be translated to the mute, those who cannot speak. So they stood dumb and speak not to him. They were dumb because of their fear. Their fear took away their voice. This to me, this event to me, in dreadful secrecy impart they did. They imparted this to me. And I with them the third night kept the watch where, as they had delivered, which means reported, both in time, form of the thing, each word made true and good. The apparition, appearance, apparition is another form for ghosts, comes. I knew your father. These hands are not more like. And this just means that these hands, the hands that I'm holding, are not more like. They don't look more alike than this ghost did to your father. I knew your father. Meaning that they look exactly the same, as much as two hands on one person look the same. And I asked, but where was this? My lord, upon the platform where we watch. Did you not speak to it? Horatio answers, my lord, I did. But answer made it none. It did not answer. Yet once methought, which means I thought, it lifted up its head and did address itself to motion like as it would speak. So it started, it was like it was about to speak, but even then the morning cock crew loud. So even then means just then the morning cock. And we actually saw this event happen. The morning cock announces the morning. Cock crew loud, and at the sound it shrunk in haste away and vanished from our sight. Hamlet says, 'tis very strange. This event is strange. Horatio says, as I do live, my honored lord, 'tis true. And we did think it writ down in our duty to let you know of it. It's as if they've been given, this is your job description. That's our duty. It's written down in it. So you do what is written down in your job description, in your duty. And so they said, we thought it writ down in our duty, which means we thought it was proper for us to do this, to let you know of it. Hamlet says, indeed, sirs, but this troubles me. This news troubles me. And now he changes directions. Hold you watch tonight? And Bernardo and Marcellus answer, which means that he probably also has then addressed, not just a new idea, but these two individuals, whereas before he was talking to Horatio. And they answer, we do, my lord, hold watch. And Hamlet asks, armed, say you? Which means the ghost. The ghost was armed. He was wearing armor and holding weapons. And the three of them answer, armed, my lord. From top to toe, capapae, my lord, from head to foot. Then saw you not his face. He's being logical. He's intelligent. If he's wearing armor, then you saw not his face. Oh, yes, my lord, he wore his beaver up. His beaver is the helmet face guard. What? Looked he frowningly? Did he have like a frown? Did he look mad or angry upon his face? Oh, yes, a countenance more in sorrow than in anger. A countenance is a look. So he looked more sorrowful than angry. Pale or red? Was his face pale or was it red? Nay, very pale. And red could maybe be, was it demonic? Was it full of blood? Or was he pale like a ghost? He's trying to ascertain things. He's gaining information. Nay, very pale. And fixed his eyes upon you most constantly. I would I had been there, which means I wish I had been there. I would that it had passed. So whenever you see in Shakespeare, I would blank, it's usually meaning that I would have this happen. It would have much amazed you. Very like, meaning very much alike. He's still stuck thinking about the ghost. Now, this is one thing that's hard about Shakespeare as well, is when someone is thinking to himself. Like, Hamlet's line was not really in answer to what Horatio had said of, it would have much amazed you. Very like. New question. State it long. Horatio says, well, one with moderate haste might tell 100. So one with moderate haste, moderate is not too fast or too slow. Haste is speed. So if one who is medium speed, tell 100, which is count to 100. Bernardo Marcellus denies this. Longer. And Horatio says, not when I saw it. So meaning that the ghost has appeared 3 times. So the first 2 times he has appeared longer than the count of 100. Horatio says, when I saw it, it was only for 100 seconds. Hamlet says, his beard was grizzled. No, which means gray. Horatio says, it was as I have seen it in his life, a sable silvered. Sable is black. Silvered means that it is showing signs of age, like that salt and pepper look. That's what his beard looked like. Hamlet decides, I will watch tonight, perchance, which means maybe there will be a chance, 'twill walk again. Twill just means it will. I warrant it will, and warrant means guarantee. Hamlet says, if it assume my noble father's person, meaning if it assumes, takes upon itself my noble father's person, means his appearance, I'll speak to it, though hell itself should gape and bid me hold my peace. If hell should gape, should stare, should open its mouth, and bid me, command me to hold my peace. So meaning even the commands of hell should be pretty terrifying. If hell should open up and command me not to speak to it, I would not listen. So nothing's going to stop him from addressing this if it looks like my father. He says, I pray you all, now he's asking them, I pray you all, if you have hitherto concealed this sight, let it be tenable in your silence still. So hitherto means up to this point. Concealed, not revealed, this sight, the sight of this ghost. Let it be tenable, meaning able to be held. Let it be able to be held in your silence still. Continue to keep it a secret. And whatever else shall happen tonight, give it an understanding, but no tongue. So think about it, but give it no tongue means don't speak about it. I will requite your loves. So fare you well. Upon the platform, twixt 11 and 12, I'll visit you. The three of them answer, our duty to your honor, which is a formal farewell. Your loves as mine to you, farewell. And exeunt, which means all leave. But it says not all of them because Hamlet's going to stick. It's just Horatio, Bernardo, and Marcellus. My father's spirit in arms. So now this is an expression, my father's spirit, his ghost, in arms, meaning in armor, carrying his weapons. All is not well. I doubt some foul play. Now, this actually means the opposite. It means I suspect some foul play. Now, you might kind of get a little frustrated, Shakespeare, and be like, why are you saying the exact opposite? This is exactly my problem with him. Actually, it's a problem with us. Doubt means more than how we commonly mean it. How we commonly mean doubt means we are assured of the opposite, right? So if you doubt something, it means that I don't believe it. And if you don't believe it, then that means you believe the opposite, which means that you are just as assured. Whereas doubt really means suspect. It means I don't know if this is true. I don't know if the opposite is true. That's what truly doubt means, all right? So in this example, it means I doubt, it means I suspect. I doubt, I do not know if there is some foul play, but all is not well. Would the night were come. And again, remember what I said about would? Would means I wish. Would this would happen. Would the night were come. I wish the night were here. Till then, sit still, my soul. Till then, my soul, which is all over the place with imaginations and emotions, sit still, be calm. Foul deeds will rise, though all the earth o'erwhelm them to men's eyes. So foul deeds, if there is some foul play from my father's spirit up in arms, foul deeds cannot be hidden. Even if all the earth conspires to overwhelm them, keep them pressed down and hidden, foul deeds will rise to men's eyes. It will make themselves known. Nothing done in the dark will not be brought into the light. And so we have a plan. Hamlet is going to go visit the very time and location that the ghost that looks like his father will appear. And we're going to have to get to that next time. Actually, you have to wait because there's one more scene until he does that. Okay, bye!